If you don't want to end up in a nursing home, you need to find a job. That's exactly what my son told me. He said it with such chilling nonchalance, without even blinking. I looked at him and smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile you were right before you die inside, or before you are reborn in absolute fury. I got up slowly, without a single word. I went to my small room, took my 22-inch blue suitcase, the same one I'd used when I first moved out of the house where I'd raised this man, and started packing the few things I had left. Clothes, a couple of books, an album of old photos, and a letter. 1 hour later, the silence was shattered by the deep roar of a powerful engine. A luxury car, black and gleaming, pulled up to the wrought iron gate. From the window, I watched Jasmine, my daughter-in-law, peek out, her brow furrowed. Marcus approached the gate and shouted, "What on earth is that car doing here?" I didn't answer. I just picked up my suitcase. I closed the door to the little nook I called home and walked out, head held high. But to understand how I arrived at that moment, you have to go back many years with me, to a time when I wasn't a burden, but a mother capable of anything for her son. Marcus was my only child. His father, David, passed away when Marcus was barely 3 years old, a traffic accident on a slick, wet highway. The police told me it was instant. I didn't feel like it was. It took me more than 10 years to learn how to breathe again without the pain cutting me in half. From that moment on, my entire life revolved around Marcus. I worked as a teacher at a public high school in the city, tutored students in the afternoons, and on weekends, I sold used books at the community flea market. I did everything to make sure he had what he needed, and he did. I sent him to good schools, I helped him with his homework, and I stayed up late sewing costumes for his school plays. I even sold my wedding ring to pay for his 12-week computer programming camp when he was 12 years old. I taught him to be responsible, respectful, and to always say thank you and please. I taught him to love books and to stand up for those who had no voice. I truly believed I was raising a noble man. I didn't know I was raising my own executioner. Marcus was a sweet child. When he was little, he used to write me letters on notebook paper. "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a house with a garden. You'll have a porch swing and lots of cats." I used to cry reading them. I thought, all this effort is worth it. My son is going to be a good man, but time passes, and with it, promises fade. The first crack appeared when Marcus met Jasmine. She was 24, working at a bank, and ambitious, maybe too ambitious. He brought her home one Sunday to introduce her to me. I remember that day like it was yesterday. "Mom, this is Jasmine," he said with a proud smile. "My girlfriend." She looked me up and down. She was wearing massive dark sunglasses as if she were walking a red carpet. "Hi," she said without smiling. "Pleased to meet you." Her handshake was as cold as her stare. That day, I knew something was about to change. And it did. After they got married, Marcus started visiting less. He no longer came for Sunday dinners. He always said he had too much work. When he did call, it was for practical things. "Do you still have my birth certificate? Or where did you store my high school papers?" One day, I was offered early retirement. My health was fragile, and I felt it was time to rest. I told him the news with excitement. Marcus barely looked up from his phone. "Well, I mean, if you feel good about it." There was no congratulations or thank you for everything, just indifference. But the worst was yet to come. When Amara was born, I knew she would be my last refuge. My granddaughter was a ray of sunshine in so much shadow. At first, Jasmine didn't want me watching her. "I prefer someone young," she'd say. "Besides, Eleanor isn't used to modern babies." Modern babies, as if they were appliances. But eventually, they let me watch her some afternoons. Those were the best moments of my week. I told her stories, we played hide-and-seek, and I taught her how to write her name in cursive. "Grandma, why do you live in such a tiny room?" she asked me once. "Because it's just right, sweetheart. I don't want to bother anyone." "But you're not bothering anyone. I love being with you." That phrase etched itself into my soul. My relationship with Jasmine continued to deteriorate. She started avoiding me, speaking to me in sarcastic whispers. "Eleanor, can you please not leave your things scattered in the laundry room? Eleanor, close the back door. You're letting the heat out." Do you have to make noise right now? It was my house, or at least it had been. They had remodeled it, yes, but the land was mine. Still, I felt like an intruder, an uncomfortable presence. When I tried to talk to Marcus about it, he just said, "Jasmine is very sensitive and sometimes you don't help." It was the first time I felt completely alone. One day Marcus called me into the main living room. I had just finished washing Amara's laundry, and my hands were still damp. "Mom, we need to talk." I sat on the edge of the sofa. Jasmine stood beside him, arms crossed. "This can't continue," Marcus said. "We're tight on money. We can't afford to support another person." "Another person?" I asked. "I'm your mother, Marcus." "I know, but you're an adult, and you can make your own decisions. If you don't want to go to a nursing home, you'll have to get a job." I felt a knot in my throat, not because of the suggestion, but because of the way he delivered it, the sheer lack of affection, memory, or gratitude. "That's not fair," I whispered. "Life isn't fair, Mom," Jasmine countered. "Welcome to the club." Marcus stood up. "We've talked it over. Take your time, but we can't go on like this." I stayed there, listening to the wall clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. And I knew something inside me had finally broken. What they didn't know was that I wasn't as alone as they thought. Months ago, I had received a letter. A letter that changed my life. It was from Isaiah, a love from my youth whom I had never forgotten. He found me through an old friend. He wrote to me gently, asking if I ever thought of him. And yes, I thought of him more than I should. We started talking on the phone, then through video calls. He lived down south in North Carolina, where he owned acres of farmland and vineyards. "I never stopped loving you, Eleanor," he told me one night. "And if you'll let me, I want to see you again." That sentence was like a hand extended in the middle of an abyss. When Marcus told me I had to get a job, I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to beg, I wasn't going to scream, and I wasn't going to make a scene. I just smiled. I went to my room, opened my suitcase, packed my things, and looked in the mirror. I had wrinkles, yes, and my hair was more salt than pepper. But I also had something I had lost years ago. Courage. And then it happened. The roar of the car, the steps of Marcus and Jasmine approaching the window, the horn blast. Beep. A tense silence. A quick glance from Amara, who had run in from the kitchen. "Grandma, is that car here for you?" I knelt, hugged her tight, and whispered in her ear, "Never let them tell you what you're worth, not even your own blood." I stood up and walked toward the front door. I approached the gate without looking back. Marcus stood there with a frown. Jasmine had her arms crossed, her lips pursed as if she'd bitten a lemon. Amara watched me from the hallway with her big, honey-colored eyes. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. They didn't deserve my words. I pushed open the iron gate and felt the cool wind hit my face. The car was there, a gleaming black Mercedes-Benz S-Class, polished like the night, its engine still running, as if it knew I wouldn't change my mind. The rear door opened, and there he was, Isaiah. "Good afternoon, Eleanor," he said, stepping out with elegant ease. "I've been waiting for you." I saw Jasmine scowl even deeper, as if she couldn't comprehend what was happening. Marcus took a step forward. "Who is this guy?" he asked, raising his voice. Isaiah offered me his hand. I took it. "Isaiah Reynolds," he replied, without looking at my son. "I'm a friend of your mother's, and I'm here to pick her up. She has nothing left to do here." The word mother seemed to hit Marcus like a slap. He blinked, trying to process what he was seeing, and then he spoke to me. "What are you doing? You're leaving with a stranger? Just like that?" I looked at him, and for the first time, I spoke. "I'm not leaving with a stranger. I'm leaving with someone who sees me, who listens to me, who values me, something you stopped doing a long time ago." Jasmine let out a sarcastic laugh. "My goodness, this is like a soap opera, running off with some rich old man now." "Seriously?" Isaiah smiled politely, but his eyes held an icy firmness. "Ma'am, you started the soap opera when you decided to treat this woman like she was trash. Today is just the end of the first act. Get ready for what's coming next." He helped me into the car. I closed the door, and from the window I saw Mara running toward the gate. "Grandma, wait!" Isaiah stopped the car before pulling away. I rolled down the window. Amara reached into her pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. "It's a drawing for you." I took the paper, hugged her, and whispered, "Never change my love. You're the one with the good heart." The car pulled away, and I didn't look back. The first few miles were silent. I watched the streets that had seen me haul grocery bags, enter through the back door as if I were staff, and swallow insults for not bringing in income. Every tree, every post was a witness to my silence, and now they would also be witnesses to my departure. Isaiah drove smoothly, as if he had all the time in the world. He drove smoothly, as if he had all the time in the world. "Are you all right?" he asked without taking his eyes off the road. I nodded, though I didn't know if it was true. "I don't know if I'm all right, but I'm awake, and that's a miracle." He smiled. He took my hand gently. "Do you want to go straight home, or do you want to stop somewhere first? Do you have time?" "I have a lifetime." I laughed. After so much time, I laughed for real, and that's when I knew it. I was no longer the woman who walked with her head bowed. I was someone else, or rather, I was starting to become who I was before the fear took over. We stopped at a small, warm roadside diner with huge windows and the scent of fresh-baked bread. We sat by the window. Isaiah ordered 2 coffees and some pastries. "Do you remember the first time we went to a place like this?" he asked me. "Of course. I ordered black tea with lemon, and you said that wasn't what happy people drank." He laughed. "And you told me, then I'm a proud, unhappy woman." We both laughed. But then silence returned. Isaiah looked me in the eye. "Eleanor, did they hurt you badly?" "No." I swallowed. I felt something break inside. I don't know if it was hurt or just neglect. It was years of small things, glares, comments, closed doors, favors that turned into debts. I was slowly fading away, Isaiah, like a candle that burns down without anyone noticing. "I noticed," he said, and in that moment, I burst into tears. I cried for everything I had silenced, for every Sunday I ate alone, for every time I pretended not to hear Jasmine call me a nuisance, for every hug Amara wanted to give me that her mother blocked, for every promise Marcus forgot. Isaiah didn't say anything. He just held my hand. And right there, I understood that sometimes silence doesn't hurt. Sometimes it heals. Hours later, we arrived at his house. And when I say house, I don't mean an ostentatious marble mansion. It was a spacious, rustic farmhouse surrounded by vineyards that shone under the setting sun. It had a porch with swing seats, huge windows, and a library that looked like something out of a dream. "This is your room," he said, opening a door. It was warm, with white sheets and a hand-woven rug. On the bedside table was a bouquet of lilacs. "Lilacs?" I asked. "Your favorite," Isaiah replied. I didn't know what to say. I just touched the petals. "You deserve this, Eleanor. You deserve everything. They denied you." That night we ate dinner together. Hot soup, homemade bread, and a red wine Isaiah had produced in his own winery. We talked about books, old movies, and our youth. At one point, he looked at me seriously. "You know what hurt me the most? That you never looked me up. 40 years went by, and I never heard from you." I was afraid, I admitted, and then life just happened. I focused so much on others that I forgot myself. He nodded. "But now you're here and I promise you, as long as I have breath in my body, no one will ever make you feel invisible again." The following days were a balm. For the first time in decades, no one was yelling at me. No one was correcting how I hung the laundry, or for leaving a light on, or for reading late. I was free. And in that freedom, I started to remember who I was. I started writing small stories, poems, and random thoughts again. Isaiah encouraged me, read my work, and asked me questions. Sometimes he woke me up with coffee in bed, other times with wildflowers. But like everything in life, the past doesn't always stay behind. One afternoon, as I was reading on the porch, my cell phone vibrated. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" Silence. Then a voice I recognized instantly. "Mom, it's Marcus." I froze. "What do you want?" Can we please talk? I don't know if I have anything to say to you. Please, it's important. I sighed. Something in his tone unsettled me. It wasn't arrogant. It sounded vulnerable. Arrogant. It sounded vulnerable. Tell me. Jazz left me. She said she couldn't handle this mess, said I wasn't man enough, and she took off. She left me with the house. And Amara. I had to sit down. The world seemed to be spinning backward. And what does that have to do with me? I don't know what to do. Amara cries all day. She asks about you. I can't handle all of this. I feel lost. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing. I need you, Mom. I remained silent. I had waited years for that phrase. But now it didn't hurt. It was just a rusty chain trying to latch onto me again. And then I said, I needed you too, Marcus, for years, and you weren't there. I know. I messed up. I was an idiot. Don't tell me. Show me. Because if you want me to come back, it won't be to that little room, and it won't be to your contempt. Marcus sobbed. I hadn't heard him cry since he was 6 years old. Can I come see you? I thought for a moment and said what I never thought I would say. Yes, but don't come alone. Who do you want me to bring? Ring Amara. She has every right to see me. You'll have to earn yours. The morning sun illuminated the vineyards, but my heart was torn between calm and anxiety. I had agreed to see Marcus, not because I trusted him, but because my granddaughter Amara deserved to know I hadn't abandoned her. Isaiah watched me from the porch as he drank his coffee. Are you sure you want to see them? I nodded, though I was shaking inside, not because of him, but because of her. Isaiah put down his cup, walked over, and stroked my cheek. Whatever happens, I'll be right here. You are not alone, Eleanor. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, and I waited. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, and I waited. At 11:30, the same family car that had seen me silenced so many times pulled through the wooden gate. Marcus got out first. He was no longer the arrogant, haughty man of weeks prior. Dark circles under his eyes betrayed sleepless nights, and his wrinkled shirt seemed to hang loose on his body. Amara got out next. She ran to me without a second thought. Grandma! I hugged her with a strength I didn't know I had. Her hair smelled like almond soap, and her body trembled with emotion. I thought you didn't want to see me anymore, she whispered. Never, my love. Never think that again. Marcus watched us from a few feet away, unsure what to do with his hands or his guilt. Can we talk? He finally asked. I looked him straight in the eye. 10 minutes, that's all. We sat on the porch. Isaiah discreetly took Amara inside and offered her juice and cookies. Through the window, I saw her telling him something, moving her hands like wings. My granddaughter was happy, and that gave me strength. Marcus sat across from me. He fidgeted uncomfortably, as if the seat were burning him. I don't know where to start, he said. Then don't start. Just be clear. He swallowed. You're right about everything. I failed you. I allowed things I never should have allowed. I let Jazz humiliate you, make you feel like a burden, and I ignored it. I focused on my job, my daughter, and I pushed you aside. No, you shoved me aside. There's a difference. He lowered his gaze. He looked defeated. I know I have no excuses, but I'm here because I'm alone and because I only now understand what you did for me for years. And you only just realized that? Yes. When I saw myself washing dishes, cooking, finding clothes for Amara, taking her to school, and enduring her crying, I understood. I understood that you did all of that, and I never appreciated it. Silence. I'm sorry, Mom. I kept looking at him. He was my son, the one who called me his queen when he had a fever and I read him stories. And at the same time, he was the man who allowed his wife to treat me worse than a maid. Both truths coexisted and they hurt. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I can listen to you. That's a start. We spent the afternoon in the garden. Amara played with Isaiah, who was teaching her how to plant a small vine. They laughed as if they had known each other their whole lives. Marcus watched me in silence. He loves you, doesn't he? Much more than you ever allowed yourself to. And you love him? I'm rediscovering him, but yes, I do. Marcus nodded. His pride seemed to dissolve with every word. I don't know if I have the right to ask this, but could you keep Amara for a few days? I got a temporary job in another city for a few weeks, Seattle, Washington. I have no one to leave her with, and she wants to stay with you. I turned toward my granddaughter. Her eyes were sparkling with hope. Can I, Grandma? Can I stay with you and Isaiah? Isaiah appeared then, as if the scene had summoned him. It would be an honor, but only if your grandma agrees. I sighed. All right, but under my rules. No surprise visits, no meddling. Marcus nodded immediately. Thank you truly. Before leaving, he turned one last time. I know I have a lot to prove. I just want you to know I'm willing to undo the damage. I watched him get into the car and drive away down the dirt road. A part of me felt relief, another nostalgia, but none of me felt guilt. The days with Amara were a balm. We ate breakfast together, walked through the vineyards, and baked cookies. Isaiah became her silent hero. He told her stories, listened patiently, and taught her how to recognize stars at night. One afternoon, as Amara was drawing on the porch, Isaiah hugged me from behind. I never imagined having this, he whispered. Having what? Peace? Family? Real life? I turned to look at him. His eyes were moist. Thank you, Eleanor, for coming back to me. I didn't come back. I found myself again. And you were there. But calm, as always, comes at a price. One night, as we were having dinner, Amara got a message on her tablet. It's my mom, she said without looking up. She wants to know if I'm okay, and she told me something weird. What? She said Dad is seeing a girl, that he now has someone to leave me with, and that maybe he won't need me anymore soon. Isaiah and I exchanged glances. How do you feel about that? I asked her. Sad, but I don't want to go back. I'm happy here. I hugged her. You will always have a place here, my love. Always. But something sparked in me. Jasmine. That woman couldn't let go of control, not even from a distance. And if Marcus was starting to rebuild his life, who was to say he wouldn't repeat his mistakes? That night, I sat down at Isaiah's desk, took paper and pen, and wrote a letter. Dear Eleanor, for years you allowed others to decide your worth, to label you, to hide you, but you are not a shadow. You are a light, and even if it sometimes flickers, the light always returns. Never forget who you are. You are starting a new life, and this time, you are not alone. I folded the paper and put it in a small box next to a photo of Amara and me. That would be my reminder, my anchor. 2 days later, Marcus returned. He was smiling and holding a bouquet of flowers, but something in his eyes alerted me. I have news, he said. Good news. I was offered a permanent, well-paying, stable position, but it requires me to move to Denver, Colorado. He looked down. He hesitated. She can come with me, or if Denver, Colorado. He looked down. He hesitated. She can come with me, or if you want, you could come too. The proposal hit me like a slap. Are you asking me to leave my life, my home, to come live under your wing again? Not under my wing. As a family, together. You can help me with Amara. You can have your own space. It wouldn't be like before. I looked at him for a long time, and then I knew he hadn't completely changed. He still thought I existed to serve, to fill voids, to put out fires he couldn't handle. I stood up. Thank you for the offer, but no. And Amara? She can decide, but I won't dim my light again. That night, as I prepared dinner for Amara, I sat next to her. Your dad wants to move and take you with him. And you? I'm staying because this is my life now, but you get to decide. Amara cried. She hugged me tightly. I want to stay with you. Are you sure? Yes. I feel loved here. Over there, I feel forgotten. Isaiah appeared at that moment, bringing freshly baked bread. Is there room for one more? Amara smiled, and for the first time, I knew we were okay, that we had broken the cycle. The morning began with the chirping of birds and the scent of coffee that Isaiah was brewing. Amara was still asleep in the room we had decorated together, full of soft colors and storybooks. It felt like a dream to have built this refuge, this home where love wasn't a debt but a choice. But dreams, I knew well, could be fragile. Isaiah approached me with 2 cups in his hand and an expression that made me frown. This came for you, he said, handing me a beige envelope with no return address. I took it cautiously. It wasn't unusual for a neighboring winery to send invitations to events, but when I opened it, I realized it wasn't that. It was a formal letter, cold and precise. This serves to inform you that Miss Jasmine Holloway has initiated legal action for full custody of the minor child, Amara Hayes, alleging improper retention, emotional manipulation, and an unfit environment for child development. I felt the ground open beneath my feet. What is this? Isaiah asked, worried by my paleness. Jasmine is accusing me of kidnapping my granddaughter. Isaiah read the letter, his jaw tightening. It's a dirty play, but I'm not surprised. I knew something like this might happen. What do I do now? I asked, feeling vulnerable for the first time in weeks. We call someone. I know a guy, a retired lawyer, but a very good one, Victor Sterling. I'm going to tell him everything. That same afternoon, Victor came to the farm. A man in his late 60s with a calm voice, firm hands, and a sharp gaze. He listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes, observing, and analyzing every detail. They have a child in common, but the mother is using the system to manipulate the situation, he concluded. This won't be easy, but we have a case. Can she take Amara away from me? I asked, my voice cracking. Victor took a deep breath. Only if Amara wants to go with her, or if she can prove you're unfit. But from what I see, there is nothing here that indicates danger. On the contrary. Jasmine can lie. She's done it before. And we're going to tell the truth and prove it. I felt supported. For the first time, someone was talking to me about justice, not resignation. That night, the 3 of us ate dinner together. Amara noticed something different in the air. Did something happen? She asked, stirring her noodles with her fork. I looked her in the eyes. I didn't want to lie to her, but I didn't want to burden her with worries that weren't hers. Your mom wants to see you, and she's a little upset because you didn't go back with her. Amara looked down. She's mad because I want to stay with you. Maybe, but it's not your fault. You have the right to choose where you feel happy. She got up, hugged me tight, and whispered, I don't want them to take me away from here. And my heart broke. Isaiah took her to bed. When he came back, he found me on the porch, smoking a cigarette after years of quitting. I don't want to lose everything again, I told him. You won't lose anything. Now you have someone who supports you, and you are not alone, Eleanor. This time, we're going to fight together. He was right. The following days were a whirlwind of hearings, social worker visits, and psychological interviews. Amara responded with unexpected maturity. She firmly stated that she felt cared for, loved, and respected in her home. She firmly stated that she felt cared for, loved, and respected in her home, and that in her previous house, no one listened to her, and her mother was always absent or in a bad mood. The psychologist wrote a clear report. The minor expresses a strong emotional bond with her grandmother, Eleanor Hayes, with whom she reports feeling protected, understood, and happy. No emotional manipulation was detected. It is recommended to preserve the stability of the current environment. When Victor read it to me, I couldn't help but cry. It was the first time a legal document had stated something I already knew. Amara wasn't being held. She was safe. Days later, we were called to the courthouse. Jasmine arrived, impeccably dressed, with her lawyer and her mask of a dethroned queen. I arrived with Victor and Isaiah, my heart racing. Amara did not attend, per the judge's recommendation. The judge read the reports and listened to the lawyers. The tension was palpable. Miss Jasmine Holloway, he finally said, we find no grounds to revoke the temporary custody granted to Ms. Eleanor Hayes as a provisional caregiver. The minor has clearly expressed her wishes. Therefore, custody will remain as is and scheduled supervised visits will be established for you. Jasmine gritted her teeth. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm to calm her. This isn't over, she told me on her way out. You don't know what I'm capable of. I looked at her with a peace she couldn't understand. Yes, I do. That's why I'm not afraid of you. That night, we had a special dinner. Isaiah cooked his famous meatloaf. Amara made an improvised cake with frosting and cookies. We laughed as if we had defeated a dragon. In a way, we had. After tucking Amara in, Isaiah and I sat on the porch. You were a lioness today, he said. I felt alive today for the first time in a long time. He took my hand and kissed my fingers. I love you, Eleanor, just as you are, and I want everything with you. I looked at him, my chest filled with something new, not gratitude or dependence, but love, free and chosen. I never thought love could feel like this after so many years, after so many wounds. With Isaiah, it wasn't just companionship. It was freedom. It was knowing that someone looked at me and truly saw me. For weeks, we lived in a tense calm. Jasmine's threat seemed to have evaporated after losing in court. But deep down, I knew she hadn't given up. That woman didn't know defeat. She only knew how to hide and attack again. And that attack didn't take long. It started with small signs. One day, the principal of Amara's school called me. Ms. Hayes, she said in a worried tone, we received a request for a change of legal guardian. It says you are no longer authorized to pick up Amara. The request came signed by Jasmine Holloway, but it has no judicial backing. Of course, we won't allow it, but I'm notifying you because this is serious. I hung up, my hands shaking. I sat on the edge of the bed with a sense of absolute vulnerability. Isaiah, seeing me, knelt in front of me. Her again. I nodded. She's trying to slowly remove me from Amara's life, from the background. She won't succeed, but will have to be alert. That night, I spoke with Victor. He confirmed my suspicions. Jasmine was appealing the ruling, but not just that. She had made false claims of psychological abuse and social isolation. She had made false claims of psychological abuse and social isolation. The most serious part, she had hired a private investigator to follow me. There were photos, videos, even screenshots of my social media. This is no longer just a legal issue, Victor said. It's a personal attack. She wants to destroy you. And can I do something? Yes, we can counterattack, but we have to go all in. I sighed. I looked out the window. Amara was playing with Isaiah in the garden, blowing bubbles. Her laughter was so pure that it hurt to imagine it being extinguished by her mother's shadow. Then we'll fight, I said. For her and for me. Victor nodded. And this time, we're going to expose her. The following days were a whirlwind. We gathered evidence of everything. Calls, audio recordings, messages. Jasmine had threatened to kick me out if necessary. She had yelled at Amara on the phone, calling her ungrateful. She had even lied about her job, declaring false income to avoid sharing maintenance costs. Victor prepared a complaint for defamation, judicial harassment, and emotional distress. But just when we felt we were in control, something happened that chilled me to the bone. One evening, Amara didn't come home from school. Her teacher confirmed her mother had picked her up because it was her visitation day, but that visit was not authorized. I panicked. I called the school, Victor, Isaiah. No one knew anything. I dialed Jasmine's number, switched off. It was 3 hours of hell until I received a message. Amara is fine. She just needed to be with her mother. I'll let you know when I bring her back. It didn't say where they were or when she would return. Just that. Isaiah held me tight while I trembled like a leaf. We called the police and filed a report. I didn't sleep that night. I just cried. I felt my soul being torn from my body. The next morning, Jasmine showed up at the farm, Amara by the hand. The child's eyes were swollen from crying. Here she is, Jasmine said with cynicism. She's fine. She just needed to be with me. You're not her mother, Eleanor. You can't forbid me from seeing her. You didn't have permission. That was kidnapping. Oh, please. You can't forbid me from seeing her. You didn't have permission. That was kidnapping. Oh, please. Dramatic as always. Look at her. She's alive. No. Amara pulled her hand away and ran to me. Grandma. I hugged her with a force I'd never felt before. We're going all the way with this, I told Jasmine, my voice trembling but firm. Do it. We'll see who's left standing at the end. And she left. Victor activated the entire legal system. He requested a temporary restraining order. The judge agreed. Jasmine couldn't come within 1,000 feet of the property without a court order, but that only infuriated her more. A week later, someone broke Isaiah's car windows. Days later, we found animal droppings at the farm entrance. One morning, we heard a loud crash. Someone had thrown rocks at the roof. Amara woke up screaming. Isaiah went out with a baseball bat. He found no one. We reported everything, but the authorities said the usual. Without proof, there's not much we can do. But the authorities said the usual. Without proof, there's not much we can do. I wasn't sleeping anymore. I lived in a state of constant alert. Isaiah proposed something radical. Eleanor, let's move. I have a small house in upstate New York, further away. We could start over there without the weight of this craziness. Abandoning this isn't giving up. It's protecting you. And protecting Amara. I thought about it for days. But every corner of that farm had a history. Every tree, every stone was part of my identity. I couldn't let Jasmine steal that from me, too. No, if I leave, she wins, and I won't allow it. Isaiah nodded. He didn't pressure me, but I understood that the exhaustion was catching up to him, too. One afternoon, while shopping in town, a woman approached me in the supermarket line. You're Amara's grandmother, right? Yes. I heard your daughter-in-law reported you for abuse. They say the child isn't going to school. Is it true? I felt a pit in my stomach. That's a lie. Well, you know how people are. Some folks shouldn't be raising children. I left without buying anything. The smear campaign had begun. Neighbors looked at me with distrust. Some withdrew their invitations. Others stopped greeting me. They were isolating me, and that hurt more than Jasmine's insults. One night after tucking Amara and I went out to the garden, I looked up at the sky searching for answers. Why is this happening to me? I murmured into the air. I just wanted to take care of my granddaughter, to love without fear. Is that too much to ask? Isaiah came out and hugged me from behind. You're not alone, even if the world shouts otherwise. I'm with you. And if she doesn't stop, if she keeps going until she breaks us, then we will resist until our last breath. A few days later, we received the final summons. Jasmine had secured an extraordinary hearing. She was going to present new evidence to request exclusive and definitive custody. It was her last punch. The trial would be in a week, and I had to prepare myself. Victor gave me a piece of advice. Don't just tell your version. Show your life. Show who you are. Let the judge see that you're not a threat. You're a source of support. That night, I wrote a letter. I didn't know if it would be read, but it helped me order my soul. My name is Eleanor Hayes. I am 66 years old. I am not perfect. I've made mistakes, but I would never stop loving someone who needs me. I am not fighting out of pride. I am fighting for a bond that life gave me and that I do not intend to surrender to anyone's whim. I put the letter in my purse and decided it would be my shield. Amara, upon hearing about the trial, was scared. I'm going to have to leave. No, my love. This time, we're going to win. And if we don't? I looked at her, my soul breaking. Then we'll go together. Wherever it is, but together. She smiled. She hugged me. You're my home, Grandma. And that sentence was worth more than 1,000 court orders. And that sentence was worth more than 1,000 court orders. The day of the trial arrived with an impossible mix of emotions, fear, hope, rage, and something deeper that I didn't know if it was courage or simply exhaustion. I dressed soberly, carefully combed my hair, and before leaving, I hugged Amara tightly. I love you, Grandma, she said, looking at me with those big eyes. I love you more, my queen. No matter what happens, nothing is going to separate us. You know that, right? She nodded with silent tears. Isaiah led me by the hand to the car. Victor was waiting for us at the courthouse door. "Today, we won't just be defending you," he said. "We're going to show who Jasmine really is." We entered the courtroom. There she was, impeccable, in a tight black dress, hair pulled back, perfect makeup, a mask. She looked at us as if we were insects. I took a deep breath. I wouldn't break. The judge, an older man with a severe expression, started the hearing. "We are here to resolve the appeal presented by Ms. Jasmine Holloway, who requests exclusive custody of her daughter Amara and the revocation of the provisional custody granted to Ms. Eleanor Hayes." Everything was on the line. Jasmine spoke first. "Your Honor, my mother-in-law has emotionally manipulated my daughter, alienated her from me, and interfered with her development, preventing contact with my environment. She has created an unauthorized figure of authority. Amara needs a mother, not an obsessive and possessive grandmother." Her words hurt, but even more painful was that she said them in a trembling voice, as if she truly believed she was right. She presented out-of-context videos, one where Amara told me she didn't want to see her mother, another where I called her my baby. Victor stood up. "With all due respect, those fragments show nothing illegal or inappropriate. Showing affection or respecting the wishes of a child who suffers distress upon seeing her mother does not constitute alienation." The judge nodded without comment. Then Victor counterattacked. He called Amara's teacher to the stand. She testified that the girl had often arrived at school crying after visits with her mother, that she had shown fear, and that she once told her, "My mom yells at me if I talk about my grandma." Jasmine denied everything, feigning indignation. Next, a neighbor took the stand, a brave older woman who had heard Jasmine screaming when she came to pick up the child. "It's not right," she said. "Eleanor raised that child with love. That girl, the mother, only shows up to cause trouble." Then Victor requested that the testimony of Amara, recorded by the court psychologist, be heard. The courtroom fell silent. "My grandma takes care of me. She reads me stories. She hugs me when I'm scared. With my mom, I get scared. I don't want to live with her." The words were soft, but the impact was brutal. Jasmine turned pale. Victor concluded powerfully. "We are not asking to take away her right to be a mother, but we are asking that the minor's well-being be prioritized, and that well-being, without a doubt, is with Eleanor." Finally, the judge allowed me to speak. I stood up with the letter in my hand. "Your Honor, I did not come here to fight out of pride. I came because I could not stand idly by while a child was torn from her only safe haven." I read the entire letter. Every word came from the depths of my soul. "I am not perfect, but I have given everything for Amara. I have protected her with my body, my time, and my love. I do not ask for recognition. I only ask that I be allowed to continue caring for her as she needs, as I need." When I finished, the judge lowered his gaze. The room was silent. He sighed, paused for a long time, and then spoke. "This court rules that the provisional custody granted to Ms. Eleanor Hayes shall be maintained and made permanent. The biological mother will maintain a supervised visitation schedule and must begin a therapeutic process before requesting any future modification." I felt the world stand still. Isaiah squeezed my hand. Victor smiled, and Jasmine. Jasmine remained motionless, as if she couldn't comprehend what had just happened. The judge added, "This court also recommends that the plaintiff refrain from making unfounded legal actions or smear campaigns under penalty of more severe sanctions." We had won. Outside the courthouse, Amara was waiting for me with Isaiah. When she saw me, she ran toward me with a huge smile. "Can we go now?" "Yes, my love, we are free now." I hugged her. I felt her heart beating against mine, and I knew that no matter what happened, nothing could break this bond. Jasmine came out minutes later. She looked at me with pure hatred. "Enjoy your victory. It won't last." "It's not a victory," I said calmly. "It's justice. This isn't over, you ridiculous old woman. It already is, even if you won't accept it." She turned and walked away with furious steps. I watched her disappear into the crowd. For the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt pity, because she had lost everything out of pride and didn't know how to love. The following days were a tense calm. I kept looking over my shoulder, but Isaiah convinced me to install cameras on the farm. Over my shoulder, but Isaiah convinced me to install cameras on the farm. We also hired an extra lawyer for any eventuality. Little by little, the community started to warm up again. Some apologized. Others just stayed silent, ashamed. But I didn't hold a grudge. I just wanted to move forward. Amara returned to her classes happily. She started drawing again, singing, and playing without fear. I started smiling again, too. Isaiah and I shared long afternoons in the garden. We talked about life, the future, and the love that had arrived when we least expected it. One afternoon, as we watched the sunset, he took my hand. "I love you, Eleanor. And I love you. Will you marry me?" I looked at him incredulous. "Are you crazy?" "Yes, for you." We laughed and cried. I said yes. The wedding was intimate. Just a few friends, Victor, and of course Amara, who carried the rings and cried with emotion. I never imagined wearing white again, but I did it not for tradition, but as a symbol of rebirth. Inside me, there were no longer any ruins, only seeds of something new. A few months later, a black van stopped in front of the farm. Amara and I were planting flowers. Isaiah was reading the paper under the porch. A man in a suit got out of the vehicle. "Ms. Eleanor Hayes?" "Yes. I'm from Horizon Publishing. We have a proposal for you. The judge shared your letter with us in a legal forum. It moved us deeply. We would like to publish it, and if you are willing, accompany it with your complete story." I was speechless. My story. Yes, we believe many women need to read it, to see that they can resist, that they are not alone. Amara squeezed my hand. Isaiah approached, smiling. "What are you going to tell him?" "Yes," I said, "because I'm no longer afraid to tell people who I am." I accepted the publishing proposal without knowing exactly what I was getting into. I had never written anything longer than a grocery list, but when I sat down in front of the blank notebook, the words began to flow as if they had been waiting for years for their turn to breathe. The first sentence I wrote was, "My name is Eleanor Hayes." They told me I was old, that I was a nuisance, that I should be quiet. But one day, I decided to stand up. For weeks, I dedicated every morning to writing, remembering, crying, and healing. The pain turned into paragraphs, the rage into chapters, and the loneliness into a voice. Victor helped me organize the facts. Isaiah corrected my spelling errors with infinite patience. Amara sometimes sat beside me and said, "Are you telling the part where you saved me, Grandma?" "Yes, my love, but I'm also telling how you saved me." "Grandma?" "Yes, my love, but I'm also telling how you saved me." The book was published 6 months later with a title that left no room for doubt. "If you don't want to end up in a nursing home, get up." The cover showed a silhouette of a woman with a suitcase in her hand, standing in front of an open gate. I didn't expect it to sell much. I thought a few women in some community library would read it, but the unexpected happened. It went viral. Social media was flooded with quotes from the book. Women of all ages began sharing their stories. Some wrote me letters. Others sent me audio messages in tears. One even drove from another state just to give me a hug. "Your story made me go back home," she told me. "It made me apologize to my mother. It made me understand everything I didn't want to see." I couldn't believe it. One day, a television host called me to invite me to an interview show. "We want you to come and tell your story live. It's inspiring. You're changing lives." I hesitated. I didn't like exposure, but Victor insisted. "You have to go, Eleanor, not for yourself, but for all those who are still silent." I went, entering the studio trembling. The lights, the cameras, the microphones, everything seemed overwhelming. But when the host greeted me warmly, something in me calmed down. "Eleanor," she said, "thousands of women are watching this. What would you tell those who are living what you went through?" I thought for a few seconds and then replied, "Don't believe that you are alone. Don't listen to anyone who tells you it's too late, that you're worthless, because there is always a day to start over. Even if you are 60, 70, or 80 years old, it is never too late to stand up." The applause was immediate, and it wasn't for me. It was for all of them. After the program, life changed. I was invited to give talks at community centers, interviewed on radio shows, and even a university asked me to speak at a conference on senior citizens' rights. But I was still the same woman. I still got up early to make breakfast for Amara. I still cleaned my garden, watered the plants, and still sat with Isaiah to watch the sunset. One day, as we were having coffee on the porch, he looked at me and said, "Do you realize what you've done? You turned humiliation into dignity and sadness into strength." "Not everyone can do that, Eleanor." "I only did what any mother or grandmother would do," I replied. "Defend those they love." "Yes, but you also defended yourself. And that is the hardest part." Jasmine kept her distance. She carried out the supervised visits with coolness and detachment. Little by little, Amara started talking to her without fear. I never spoke ill of her mother. Never, because I understood a profound truth. You don't win by hating. You win by loving with greater strength. One day, Amara asked me, "Did you forgive her, Grandma?" I was silent for a moment. "I don't know if I forgave her, but I no longer hate her." That's enough, isn't it? It's more than enough. Years later, the book was adapted into a play. I was invited to the premiere. The curtain opened, and I saw an actress with white hair playing me with the same suitcase in her hand, with the same tremor in her voice. Hearing my own words in another body made me cry. Isaiah squeezed my hand. Amara, now a teenager, hugged me. "That's you, Grandma, the bravest of all." The play ended with the actress opening the gate and getting into an imaginary car. The audience gave a standing ovation. It was then that I understood. My story was no longer just mine. The last recognition came when I was awarded a Citizen's Medal of Merit. In the speech, the mayor said, "Today, we honor a woman who taught us that old age is not synonymous with uselessness, that motherhood has no age limit, and that love is stronger than any court ruling." I approached the microphone. I no longer trembled. "Thank you for this recognition, but I want to say something more. When my son told me, if you don't want to end up in a nursing home, you need to find a job, he didn't know he was giving me an opportunity, because sometimes what looks like the end is only the beginning." People applauded. "A nursing home, you need to find a job." He didn't know he was giving me an opportunity, because sometimes what looks like the end is only the beginning. People applauded, but I looked up and thought of David, and how I wished he could see me now, free, alive, reborn. Today, looking back, I don't see a tragedy. I see a story of transformation. Amara grew up surrounded by love. She chose to study psychology. She says she wants to help other children like her. Isaiah and I continue walking together, growing old hand in hand, laughing at our wrinkles and our clumsiness. My house filled with books, flowers, and visitors. Many women come to tell me their stories. With books, flowers, and visitors. Many women come to tell me their stories. Some bring me homemade pies. Others just need to talk. I always listen. And every time they ask me how it all began, I tell them the same thing. It started with a phrase, a humiliation, but also with a smile, a suitcase, and a car that arrived just in time because it wasn't the luxury, it wasn't the new husband, and it wasn't the book. It was choosing not to fade, not to surrender, not to believe what others say you are. Because the fire we have inside is not extinguished by contempt, it is ignited by determination. And if someone ever tells you that you are old, that you are useless, that you are in the way, no one ever tells you that you are old, that you are useless, that you are in the way. Remember this. You are not what others say. You are what you decide to be. And if they tell you, if you don't want to end up in a nursing home, you need to find a job, smile, stand up, open the gate. Because maybe your new life is waiting for you right there. They say that when one door closes, another one opens. But what no one tells you is that sometimes you have to have the courage to cross it alone, with your back straight, with your suitcase shaking in your hand, with your soul in pieces, but willing to put yourself back together. I crossed that door, and on the other side, there were no easy promises. No immediate comfort. What I found was uncertainty, silence, and a freedom that scared me. Because yes, freedom is frightening when you're not used to choosing for yourself, but I chose it every step, with every tear, with every written word. I chose to rebuild myself. I chose to listen to my voice, the one I had silenced for decades. Today, I live in a modest but warm house, with windows that let the light in as it never did before. Amara is no longer a child. She is a brilliant, sensitive young woman, with that mix of tenderness and strength that only well-healed scars can leave behind. Isaiah grows old with me. His presence is a refuge, not a life raft. I don't need him to save me. I only need him to accompany me. And he does so every day with a quiet smile and a silence that says more than 1,000 speeches. Our routine is simple. We eat breakfast looking out at the garden. Amara sometimes joins us with her cup of tea, and we talk about simple things, books, flowers, dreams. But sometimes the conversation turns deeper. Grandma, she said to me one morning, "Do you regret everything that happened?" I thought about answering yes. That I wished I had never suffered. That I wished my son hadn't betrayed me. That I wished David were still alive. But lying to her would be robbing her of the truth. No, my love, I don't regret it, because if all of that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today, and you, perhaps, wouldn't be here with me. She smiled. She hugged me without saying more, because she understood. Over the years, I learned that life is not a straight line. It's a spiral. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, and sometimes you feel like you're in the same place. But you are not the same person. I am not the same woman who trembled at the sound of her son yelling, nor the one who bowed her head when her daughter-in-law humiliated her, nor the one who thought she had no place left in the world. Now I am the woman who writes, who hugs, who listens, who guides. I am the grandmother who receives letters from other grandmothers, mothers, and daughters, women who tell me, "Thank you for telling your story. You gave me courage." And I answer them, the courage was already inside you. All it took was for someone to remind you. Sometimes older women are invisible to the world, as if we have nothing left to say, to contribute, or to live. But that is a lie. We are living libraries. We are roots. We are history and future. They made us believe that after a certain age, all that remains is waiting. But I say the opposite. After a certain age is when everything becomes clearest, when you no longer need to prove anything, when the only thing that matters is living truthfully. Once, at a talk I gave at a university, a student asked me, "What is dignity to you?" I smiled at her and replied, "It's being able to look at yourself in the mirror without lowering your gaze. It's not needing anyone's approval to know your worth. It's choosing yourself every day, even if no one else does." She remained silent, nodded, and I knew she had understood. If I had to leave one message for every woman who hears my story, it would be this. Don't wait for someone else to rescue you. Don't wait for them to value you before you value yourself. Don't wait for them to applaud you before you stand up. Do it anyway. Do it trembling. Do it with fear. But do it. Because sometimes, life begins right at the moment you decide not to be the victim, but the author of your own story. And if you ever have to pack a suitcase, don't see it as an end. It's just the prologue to everything you're going to write next. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story, with love and respect.